today's Warzone video, I'm going to be showing you guys the top 8 lowest recoil guns you can be using. I'm going to give you guys the builds that are going to give them the lowest amount of recoil. They're also going to be super effective. It's going to be awesome. If you guys haven't enjoyed today's video, give it a like, subscribe, notifications turned on, and let's hop into this. All right, first thing we're going to be doing here is we're going to give you guys a build for the Modern Warfare M4A. We're going to make this thing have actually like pretty much zero recoil. It's going to be a really fun gun to use here in Warzone. So first thing in here, muzzle category, we're going to go for the mono suppressor here. Sound suppression, of course, damage range is what we run on pretty much all of our Modern Warfare weapons. After that, in the barrel section, we're going to go for the stock M16 Grenadier barrel. I know a lot of people like to go for either the stock M16 or the Corvus Custom Marksman, but the stock M16 is going to allow you to have better recoil control as opposed to the Corvus Custom Marksman, and that's what we're aiming for in this video. It's also just going to be a little bit more effective anyways, so definitely run this. Now, in the underbarrel section, I normally go for the Commando foregrip, but in the spirit of actually making this thing have virtually zero recoil, and you're going to sacrifice a tad bit of mobility, I'd go for something like the Ranger foregrip here, which is going to help that recoil control and aiming stability, and this should definitely, stabilize this weapon out here quite a bit in terms of its, bouncing around, so on and so forth, because it does like to do that, and you can handle it with, a Commando, but it's still going to have a little bit of recoil, and I know people want zero recoil, so the Ranger foregrip is going to be the way to go for that. Now, in the magazine section, we're going to go for the 60-round mag here. I'm a 60-round mag kind of guy, and that's just kind of what I like to run here on all of my Modern Warfare ARs. 60-round mag just works out beautifully. And then in the optics section, what we're going to do is you're either going to throw on the Corp Combat Hollow. Here's our first option. We're going to throw on the VLK 3x optic as our second option. Or if you want to get crazy with it, you guys can go down here and run the PBX Hollow 7 sight, which is the same thing as the Corp Combat Hollow, but just looks a little bit different. So it's up to you guys. Personally, I'd probably go with maybe like the Corp Combat Hollow or maybe something like the PBX. Maybe stray away from the VLK as there's better longer range options that we'll cover here a little bit later in the video. So this is definitely a really great medium option, a medium range option, and this is my M4 build. So this is a really fun one to use. Definitely check it out if you want to see a zero recoil M4 build. All right, next up, we're going to give you guys a build here for the M13. So this is going to be a little bit more similar to the M4A one, but I absolutely love the M13. It's definitely actually in the meta right now, so you should be using it really anyways, but here's a great build for it. So first thing, monolithic suppressor here. Like I said, we run this on all of our Modern Warfare ARs. After that, barrel section, we're going to go for the last one here, the Tempest Marksman barrel, damage range, bullet velocity, and of course, that beautiful recoil control. This definitely is going to be the best barrel to run on this thing. Without a doubt in my mind, it's just definitely the best one. In the underbarrel section, you're going to have to run an underbarrel here. So you have a couple of different options in here. Normally speaking, I go for something like a Commando foregrip just because I can deal with the little bit of extra recoil it's going to have. But if you want something that's going to be less recoil than that, then like something like a Ranger foregrip is going to be the way to go for you. But for me personally, I go for the Commando, but in the spirit of actually making this, zero recoil, you can definitely go for the Ranger and run that. And that'll be very easy to control, like pretty much non-existent recoil. Magazine section, we're going to go for the 60-round mag here. This has got a very high fire rate, so you definitely want to run the 60. Always stay away from these blackout rounds. These things are terrible. Don't ever use them. 30 rounds in M13 is definitely not enough. You definitely need the 60. And then, much like the M4A, we have a couple options here, but for me personally, I always go for the Corp Combat Hollow or the PBX Hollow 7 sight. Is not as much the VLK 3x optic. I just believe this is a gun that's more suited to running at that medium-ish range, not necessarily super long range, because there's a couple of Vanguard ARs which definitely take the cake in terms of long range, capabilities, as opposed to some of these Modern Warfare ones. But it's definitely a really good one. So Corp Combat Hollow, or you could even try the VLK if you really want to. This is going to be stabilized out just enough to be able to actually run that very effectively. So either or, it's up to you guys, but we'll just run the VLK 3x optic here for the heck of it. So this is my full build here for the M13. Really fun to use. Virtually zero recoil, super fun. Now we're gonna be stepping into the SMG category, and we're gonna be going over an H4 Blixen loadout. As it's kind of funny, this thing is probably the most meta SMG to be able to use in Warzone right now. It's also got virtually zero recoil. You can do it with a lot of these Vanguard ARs, SMGs. It's pretty easy to build them like that. So let's hop into like a really effective build here for this thing. Muzzle category, we're gonna give you guys the recoil booster here for that increase in overall fire rate. Gotta love that. Barrel section, we're going to go for the Bergstrom barrel, recoil control and accuracy, bullet velocity, and of course that beautiful flinch resistance. I run this all the time, especially over the Johnson barrel here nowadays. I always run the Bergstrom. This is definitely just the way to go. This is what everybody else runs on it. In the underbarrel section, we're going to go throw on, where is it, the SG98 compact here for aim, walking, movement speed, and of course reduced scope sway and gun bob. This is going to make this thing have like literally no kick. It's going to be super easy to use, and it's also a very good attachment anyways, what I'd run normally even if I'm not trying to make a zero recoil build. In the magazine section, we're going to go for the 7.62 Garanko 54 round mag. I always run the 54 over the 36. Even though this has increased torso damage, I do believe the 54 is definitely the way to go for this gun. In the ammunition side of things, we're going to go for lengthened for the increase in bullet velocity. And then in the rear grip, we're going to go find the grooved grip here for ADS-5 move speed and horizontal recoil control. This is a really fun one to be able to use on this gun. It allows you to strafe quite a bit and obviously have no recoil. Now in the optics section, we're going to go for the slate reflector here. This is just kind of like a given. I've seen people try to run the iron sights, but I always just go for the slate reflector. I believe that's the best way to run this gun, just kind of hands down. Optics section, we're going to go for the Bergstrom MB here. This is going to negatively impact your recoil control ever so slightly. I mean, you won't even notice it at that point. Like with all the great attachments we have on this thing, we're just getting pretty much looking at all the pros on here. So you can run the Bergstrom or the remove stock, but this one's gonna have a lot more cons as opposed to the Bergstrom. So that's why we're gonna be running this. Now in the perk section, we're gonna go for fleet here for weapon swap quickness and movement speed. And then in perk 2, we're gonna go for quick for that overall increase in sprint speed. This is my full build here on the Blixen. Very good gun to use, and I run this pretty much on like all my loadouts, maybe that like the Marco 5. All right, now let's switch to a gear here in terms of giving you guys a Vanguard SMG. Let's go over a Cold War SMG. That's gonna be the Milano. This thing has a very little recoil to begin with, and we're gonna give you guys a great build that's also like that's awesome for mobility, and it's gonna be very easy to control. So first thing, muzzle category, we're gonna go for that agency suppressor here. We run this on a large majority of our Cold War weapons. Barrel section, we're gonna go for the 10.6 task force here. I always run the task force. It doesn't really matter what type of build I'm making, you always run the task force on this gun. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. In the underbarrel section, we're actually going to throw on the bruiser grip here for movement speed and hipfire accuracy, as I do believe this is a really solid attachment, and I've had great success actually running the bruiser grip on this weapon. Magazine, we're going to go for the Stanag 55 round drum for the overall increase in ammo capacity. It says you lose a little bit of ADS time and reload quickness, but don't pay too much attention to that, as the 55 is definitely needed, and it's well worth any of the cons you can possibly get. And then for our last attachment, go for the stock. We're gonna go for the Raider stock, ADS-5 move speed, aim, walking movement speed, and of course, we all love that beautiful sprint to fire time. So this is my full build here on the Milano 821. This thing's really fun to use, and it's got no recoil. Seriously, very easy to use. All right, now let's give you guys a build here. Switching gears a little bit, once again, a build for the STG-44. So they've nerfed this thing here probably a couple of times, but it's still undoubtedly like one of the highest used guns in Warzone right now, our most popular used guns, just because like it's got very little recoil with the right build, and it's got a pretty good damage profile. So let's give a build for it. So first thing, MX silencer here, sound suppression, damage range, vertical and horizontal recoil control, all that good stuff. Really great silencer. Barrel section, we're going to go for the 760mm 05B barrel. This is once again going to help it be the most effective it can be as an AR, so I'd highly recommend you guys exclusively run this barrel. In the underbarrel section, there's a couple different options here I've seen people running. That's the M1940 enhanced stop for the vertical and horizontal, or I've also seen some people running the M1930 strife angled, which definitely helps out with your horizontal recoil control. But I guess in the spirit of making this like, straight up no recoil, the hand stop is going to be a really solid option. Now, the magazine, we're going to go for the 7.62 Garanko 50 round mag here. We absolutely love the Garanko, and this is just hands down the way to go for this gun. Ammunition side of things, we're going to go for lengthen for the increase in bullet velocity. Rear grip, we're going to go for, where is it at? We're going to go for the hatch grip. I was having a hard time finding there, but vertical, horizontal, and flinch resistance. All great things at no cons, so you really can't complain about that one. In the optics section, a couple of different options. You have the G16 2.5x, which is going to be like your more medium-ish range scope, or what I've been going for a lot more recently, which is going to be what's probably down here a little bit, which is the SVT 3 to 6 times scope. And that has like been my go-to on a lot of these Vanguard ARs. I've been really liking it, so I'd recommend probably this one, even a little bit more so over the G16. Now in the stock section, we're going to go for the VDD 34S weighted. This is a straight up like control based stock. You're not going to be getting any sort of movement benefits of this. This is straight up control. Now in the perk section, what we're going to do is we're going to go for focus for that increase in flinch resistance. It helps you stay on target when you're getting shot at. And then in perk 2, we're going to go for fully loaded for that maximum starting ammo capacity. Really solid perk. I mean, there's just nothing else in here that I really would say is better. So this is my full build here for the STG. Pretty cool variant, by the way. I don't use this all that much, but it's definitely sick. It's from the Battle Pass, by the way. Next up, we're going to give you guys a build here for the NZ41. This is my favorite AR to use in Warzone right now, apart from like the M13, and this has zero recoil. Y'all been seeing it in the videos. If you watch my gameplay vids, this is definitely the way to go. So first thing, muzzle category, MX silencer here, of course. Barrel section, we're going to go for the Orb Weaver 360mm BC barrel. We always run the BC barrel. There's no reason to switch this out for anything else. They patched it when people were trying to run the burst barrel, as that was apparently better at some point, but I've always ran the 360, and this is definitely the way to go. Underbarrel section, we're going to go actually for the M1930 strife angled here. The increase in horizontal recoil control. You definitely don't need the M1941 hand stop, as I've been having incredible success running the strife angled. I'd say this is a really solid option. Magazine, we're going to go for the 6.5mm Sakura 50 round mag. Always got to run this on here. I've seen people try to run like the 40, something like that, as that's, you know, pretty solid as well, but I've been going for the Sakura 50, and this has always done me well, so definitely recommend this. Ammunition, we're going to go for lengthened for the increase in bullet velocity. Of course, it's an AR, so got to make sure our shots register faster. Rear grip, we're going to go for the hatch grip here for vertical, horizontal, and flinch resistance. Much like the STG, it's got no cons, so that's pretty awesome. And then also much like the STG, we're going to go for a scope, either the G16 2.5x, or we're going to go down here and throw on the SVT scope for that 3 to 6 times. My preference right now is the SVT, and run that pretty much exclusively, and this thing is incredible, so I'd recommend for you guys to use that. Stock, we're going to go for the Orb Weaver EPAC, recoil control, recoil recovery, accuracy, and flinch resistance. A straight up recoil and control based, you know, stock. Gotta love that. And then in perk 1, we're going to go for brace for the initial firing recoil. This is really going to help you stay on target, give it virtually 0 recoil, right? And then in perk 2, we're going to go for fully loaded once again. So this is my full build here on the NZ41. Love this thing. This is my favorite AR to use right now. This is my exact build I run in all my videos. Super good. All right, now let's jump into an SMG here once again. That's gonna be the Modern Warfare MP5, as you can make this thing have like literally no recoil, and it's a very good gun that a lot of people actually have unlocked, and it's pretty fun to use. So let's get into it. First thing, we're actually gonna go for the muzzle on the end here, which is gonna be the mono suppressor. You can do for the mono on the end of the gun, or you can go for the integral model in the barrel section. It's kind of up to you guys. There's really not that much of a difference. It just kind of comes down to like, what do you like visually? And personally, I like the mono on the end of the gun as opposed to the integral. I think it just looks a little bit cooler, so that's why I run that. In the underbarrel section, there's a couple options in here, but what a lot of pro players were running here way back in the day was the operator foregrip, as this was like the premium thing for recoil control on this gun. A lot of people in Warzone run the Merc foregrip here just to kind of help accentuate its recoil control and of course hipfire accuracy. It's going to help out with the recoil control, like all that stuff, but it's not going to help out as much as the operator, but you do get that benefit of increased hipfire accuracy, and this thing's got incredible hipfire, so that's why a lot of people run that. That's their go-to. But if you want to go straight recoil control, go for the operator, and it's still going to do you just fine. Magazine, we're going to go for the 45 round mag here for the increase in ammo capacity. Stay away from this 10mm auto 30. I don't believe it's going to be all that great, and also it does negatively impact your fire rate and recoil control. Don't want that, so we're going to go for the 45. And then we're actually going to go for the stock section. We're going to go for the F-TAC collapsible for movement speed and aim down sight speed. This is going to be a bit of a negative in terms of your overall recoil abilities, but this is a necessary evil on this gun just to kind of keep up with some of the other movement of the other SMGs as you're going to be going against them, so you got to be able to keep up with them. Now in the perk section, what we're going to do is we're going to go throw on Sleight of Hand, just because this thing has sometimes a bit of a notoriously slow reload, and especially when you're going against, you know, colder SMGs, Vanguard ones, maybe have a bigger magazine size, can take people out, you know, faster, more people per magazine, so on and so forth. You definitely need Sleight of Hand, as that's going to be very crucial to you staying alive and getting in and out of gunfights very efficiently. So this is my full build here for the MP5. Really good for recoil control purposes, and it's a pretty fun gun to use anyways. And to finish off this video here, we're going to give you guys my personal favorite Modern Warfare AR, and that's going to be the Grau 5.56. And this thing is just amazing. So first thing, muzzle category, mono suppressor here, of course. Barrel section, we're gonna go for the Tempest 26.4 Archangel. We run this because it's indeed the best barrel out there for this gun here to make it a true AR, but also it's got incredible iron sights, just because like the way these things are structured, it's very easy to use. You can use it as an iron sight AR, or you can put a scope on it, and it gives you that sort of variety, which I really like. So the Tempest 26.4 is just the best thing to run here, hands down. Underbarrel section, commando foregrip's really all you need. This thing is not like the M4A one or the M13. It's got like literally no recoil anyways, so you just only need the commando, and that's about it. Magazine section, we're gonna go for the 60 round mag here, as I'm a 60 round mag kind of guy, and that's what I like to be able to run. So the 60 works out beautifully, but you can definitely run the 50 if you want a little bit more, I guess, mobility, but I go for the 60. And then for our last thing, we either go for a laser here, which is going to be the TAC laser. That's going to really help round out your aiming stability. But if you want to go for a little bit more range and don't want to run the TAC laser and take advantage of those iron sights, we're gonna go to the optics section here, and I'm actually gonna recommend for you guys throwing the VLK 3 times, because this thing has such little recoil that you can use it at medium to longer-ish range, and it's going to work out very nicely for you. So VLK is what I'd recommend, but also but I would not recommend actually to go for the Corp Combat, just because like at that point you're at that range where you can just throw on the tac laser and be good with that. So don't run this. I'd run probably just the VLK if you're gonna run an optic, and then if you're not gonna run this, then run the tac laser. So that's me. So this is my full build here for this thing. This has been my top 8 lowest recoil guns. If you guys enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe, notifications turned on, and I'll see you all later. Just don't be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.